only an hour before and after, the High Heaven Sect, located in the mountains, appeared in the eyes of everyone. The mountain road paved with white jade is clearly visible. At the top of the mountain road, there is a huge plaque with 3 characters of High Heaven Sect. Sure enough, it is a beautiful place. Ling Taishu stood inside the battleship, looking down through the crystal glass, very satisfied with the current environment of High Heaven Sect headquarters. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Yang Kai stood aside with a smile, and explained to the honored master, what we see now can only be regarded as part of the High Heaven Sect. The entire High Heaven Sect consists of 81 peaks. It consists of 9 main peaks, and 72 auxiliary peaks. Each peak has different scenery, but because there were too few people before, I only chose to settle here. Those peaks, even I haven't explored them completely. Waiting for everyone to settle here later, you can find your favorite mountain to live on. Okay. Chu Ling Xiao also felt relieved. They were a little worried before. Yang Kai brought the 3 races of human, monster, and demon together with nearly 10,000 people. They were afraid that there was no place to settle them. But now, looking around, there are towering peaks undulating in the clouds, there are looming attics and pavilions, and 81 mountain peaks. It is safe to house the powerful people of the 3 clans, and there is even a large part of the space. We will live here in the future? The great senior Thunder Dragon looked down with a red face. This place is more than 100 times better than the Beast Seed Jungle on the Tongxuan continent. Not only the world's spiritual energy is extremely rich, the scenery is also the best. The monster race can live and cultivate here. The future achievements will definitely not be too low. The headquarters is a foundation. Thunder Dragon, as a great senior of the monster race, is too aware of the importance of the foundation to a race. Yang Kai, my demon race owes you. If you have something to tell me or want me to do in the future, my demon race will never say anything. Someone haughty like Zhang Yuan also said this from the bottom of his heart. This is a disguised form of wanting to join the High Heaven Sect. Yang Kai nodded. The monster and demon races were brought out by Yang Kai when he left Tongxuan continent. Strictly speaking, Thunder Dragon, Zhang Yuan and the others did owed Yang Kai a favor, but Li Rong, Han Fei and others of the ancient demon clan would not think so. Yang Kai was their master, and they had vowed to follow Yang Kai for life. They will only feel honored for it. He let the human, demon, and monster races be immersed in shock and joy. Yang Kai commanded the battleship towards the huge square below. At the same time, the spiritual mind was swept away, wanting to see how High Heaven Sect is now. But after a while, his brows can't help but frown. He found that there were about 1,000 people gathered in the High Heaven Sect at this moment. It's just that none of these people has a familiar aura. Yixian, Wu Yi, Changqi, Haoan, Huangwan and others seemed to be absent from here, and even the aura of those strong men who had come from Star Emperor Mountain seemed to disappear. Such an obvious and huge battleship descended from the air, and no one from the High Heaven Sect came out to greet it. On the contrary, from the lofts near the square, there are countless strange spiritual-minded ending out, and they are constantly scanning. This discovery made Yang Kai's face sink, and his face became unsightly. As if he had noticed something, Ling Taishu leaned closer and asked in a low voice, Yang Kai, is there something wrong? Yang Kai sneered slightly, there is something wrong, honored master, you can stay in the battleship for a while, I'll take a look. Alright. Ling Taishu replied. Yang Kai waved his hand to let people open the door of the battleship and walked out of the battleship with Yang Xiaoju, Chu Hani and Lin Yurao. Yang Xiaoju and the others obviously also found the problem. They were a little unclear after looking at each other, but soon Zhang Xiaoju urged his Saint Yuan and let out a long roar, the sect master has returned. A long scream spread all over the 81 peaks of High Heaven Sect for a long time. Still no one came to meet. On the contrary, those spiritual minds that had been investigating the battleship before seemed to be entangled together, and they were silently exchanging something. The atmosphere in the entire High Heaven Sect suddenly became extremely weird. After a while, those spiritual minds dissipated. It should be a consensus reached. Only at this time, from the attic in all directions, some people flew out. Yang Kai was standing on the square, waiting with a cold aura. Whoosh! One figure after another fell nearby, gradually converging into an extremely terrifying force. The people here are all strong people above the void return stage, and the third order void return stage is everywhere. But when these person looks at Yang Kai, their eyes are evasive, and they all feels a little guilty, and they doesn't dare to confront Yang Kai. Occasionally a few of them looked cold and stern, looking at Yang Kai provocatively, as if looking at an enemy. Yang Kai glanced around, his eyes fixed on an old woman with white hair and a crutch with a dragon head. Standing next to this old woman was a delicate and beautiful young girl, who had a level of void return stage, and was a rising star of the shadowed star. The reason why Yang Kai looked at this old woman was because he knew her. The old woman is clearly the Feng Lady of 10,000 Beast Mountain. In the Battle of Dragon Cave Mountain, she stepped in at the last minute, trying to snatch the Emperor Jade that fell in Dragon Cave Mountain. Yang Kai didn't have a good impression of this old woman. At the time, although she had interacted with the Great Elder Xianxia of Demon Blood Religion, she had no good intentions. As for the beautiful girl beside her with a shrewd light in her beautiful eyes, Yang Kai remembered her name as Feng Yan. She is the granddaughter of Lady Feng. At this moment, Feng Yan was looking up and down Yang Kai with a pair of curious eyes, and there was an eager look in her beautiful eyes, as if she wanted to take a fight with Yang Kai, so as to know which one is strong between the two. Naturally, Yang Kai didn't show any interest in her. The other party was just a first-order void return stage, and he could crush her with just one finger. Turning his gaze, Yang Kai saw some familiar or unfamiliar faces, most of whom could not be named, but judging from their uniform, they all came from first-class sects or forces on the Shadowed Star. Yang Kai also saw the current sect master Gong Aofu and the younger generation of disciple Yin Sudi of Colored Glass Sect. The former master of the Colored Glass Sect, Gong Xing, fell while exploring the Emperor Garden, so his daughter Gong Aofu took over as the sect master. Over the years, Gong Aofu has also become a powerhouse in the Third Order Void Return stage. Dai Yuan is not here. Yang Kai frowned. He didn't know where this girl who was so beautiful but showed her ugly face had gone. Logically speaking, she was a disciple of Colored Glass Sect and should be with a Gong Aofu. Throughout the Colored Glass Sect, Yang Kai only had a better view of Dai Yuan alone. After all, he had worked with this little girl several times. In the square, there was silence. Yang Kai just looked around coldly, and the Void Return stage cultivators on the other side didn't mean to speak. After a long time, Yang Kai smiled and said, "Interesting, this sect master returned to this sect, and the elders did not come out to greet him." As for why these people appeared in High Heaven Sect, Yang Kai could guess one or two. When he was in Black Ink Sea City before, he learned from Du Yanling that in the past 2 years of catastrophe, High Heaven Sect had done a lot. Not only did it frequently send strong men to rescue the elites of the human race, it also opened the gate under the instructions of the Great Elder Yi Xian, and accept the cultivators who fled from the enemy. These people should all have taken refuge in the High Heaven Sect. After all, this is already the last pure land of the entire Shadowed Star. It is guarded by 3 rings of flames. No matter how powerful the corpse spirit religion is, there is no way to attack it. No one can blame Yi Xian for what she did, even Yang Kai couldn't. If he was in the High Heaven Sect at that time, he would do the same. To the cultivators who fled here, Yang Kai was not so cold-hearted that he could not save them. But the current situation made him extremely angry. Although it is not clear what happened in the High Heaven Sect, why Yi Xian and others did not show up, but these people occupy the Magpie's Nest, Yang Kai can also know that there must be something nasty surging in it. Those with the Void Return stage cultivation on the opposite side looked at each other, and finally everyone's eyes converged on Lady Feng of 10,000 Beast Mountain. Lady Feng did her part. Taking a step forward, a kind smile appeared on the old face. "Sect Master, Yang is serious." Since the Great Chaos, the High Heaven Sect has become the most indestructible haven for my human race, and it is the last hope of my human race. It is understandable that I will wait to meet him. Place for the human race? Yang Kai looked at Lady Feng with a smile, and keenly grasped the key points in Lady Feng's words. The meaning of Senior Feng's words seems to be saying that my High Heaven Sect has now become a common human race place. Why don't I know it all when I'm the sect master? Lady Feng's face became stiff, and she didn't know how to answer for a while, and she didn't expect Yang Kai's words to be so sharp. A burly man suddenly stepped out and yelled, "Sect Master Yang, right? The High Heaven Sect relies on natural defense, and the corpse spirit religion army can't invade it. Naturally, these treasures should have become the last barriers to our human race. Now the outside world is troubled by the corpse spirit religion, and no place is safe. The High Heaven Sect should work for the human race and share the treasure land. Does Sect Master Yang think there is something wrong with this?" "You are." Yang Kai squinted at him. The big man snorted coldly. "Tang Fush, the Sect Master of Floating Mist Palace." Yang Kai nodded lightly. Tang Fush, he had heard that the first powerhouse of Floating Mist Palace was a master of the Third Order Void Return stage. He was comparable to Fei Jitu, Qian Tong and others before. The strength is really not bad. Tang Fush, we continued, if my Floating Mist Palace can have such a treasure, I will naturally open the sect to accept the elites of my human race, and contribute a meager strength to the continuation of my human race strength. Sect Master Yang appeared here today with a questioning gesture like we are guilty. Is it possible you want to drive us away? As soon as this statement was made, many people's expressions changed drastically, and anxious expressions appeared on their faces. They escaped into the High Heaven Sect with a great difficulty. If Yang Kai really drove them out, the good days would come to an end. In the future they will have to face the encirclement and suppression of the corpse spirit religion all the time. No one can guarantee their own safety. When did I say this? Yang Kai sneered slightly, looking around with forcing eyes. What are you guilty of? Anyone who was seen by him turned aside their eyes. To be continued.